It's Halloween, and I guess it's apropos that I would be talking about the one comic book that every Marvel Comics fan should be reading. It is Incredible Hulk from Phillip Kennedy Johnson, Nick Klein on art, also with Travel Foreman as a fill-in artist for the last 2 issues, and this series has been fantastic so far. We're only on issue number 5, and if you have not jumped on the Incredible Hulk bandwagon, I think after talking about what the series is about and some of the main characters, I will have changed your mind. You will go pick up the last 5 issues and be very happy to put it on your pull box, because Marvel is in a creative rut right now. In fact, I would say over the past 18 months, maybe 24 months, the best series that they had was Moon Knight, which is good. I don't think Moon Knight ever stopped being good, but it was never great. It was never as good as, Immortal Hulk. It was never as good as the beginning of Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil run. It was never as good as Donny Cates' run on Venom, and a few other things that have actually been very, very high quality from Marvel Comics over the past 5 or so years. This is really the one that stands out as being something that I think a lot of people like. Like, if you like Incredible Hulk, I think you'll love this comic book. If you like horror comic books, I think you'll love this comic book. If you're interested in the Marvel Comics universe as a whole, I believe this will also be in your wheelhouse, because it does tie into some of the other things that have happened to Hulk in the past, especially the recent past with the Green Door and all that kind of stuff. This is a reboot from the Donny Cates Hulk run, where we had Starship Hulk, basically, where Bruce Banner was in control, and I imagine some people like that. I know Drew from Comics Elite, who I review comic books with basically every Saturday. We talk about the best. He was still talking about he liked that Hulk run from Donny Cates with Ryan Ottley on art, basically until the end, and Donny Cates left. Me personally, that was not my flavor of Hulk. That wasn't my flavor of comic book. I just didn't think it was a good concept. I didn't think it was executed well, and I thought it just didn't do a character as badass as Hulk any justice whatsoever, and it feels like Phillip Kennedy Johnson has dialed it in, kind of going for that Immortal Hulk feel, which certainly had a lot of horror to it, although that one was concentrating more on like the multiple personalities of Hulk, which I thought was really cool. Obviously, that ties into a lot of the Peter David stuff in the past. This more focuses in on the battle between Bruce Banner and Hulk, which is something Donny Cates was certainly looking into and exploring, that Bruce Banner basically like overcome Hulk or whatever, and kind of control him. That is not what's happening here. Let's get into the details and why I think you would absolutely love this comic book if you have not been reading it. First up, I have to talk about the art from Nick Klein. He illustrated issues 1 through 3. He's also done the cover art on all the issues so far. I would say his cover on issue number 2 specifically is very, very cool. It's got like a house, and it looks like almost like a jack-o'-lantern with Hulk about to enter the house and all these zombies, and there's like his little sidekick. It was a really good cover. And Nick Klein, at least initially, I thought was really the main reason to buy this book. Nick Klein had done some amazing stuff on Thor, obviously with Donny Cates before Donny left that book. And he continues to do amazing things. I hadn't really seen Nick Klein do a lot of horror-inspired art. It turns out this is absolutely right in Nick Klein's wheelhouse. He's great with monsters. He's great with atmosphere. He's great with building up very tense situations as Hulk goes in to fight other monsters, or maybe Bruce Banner is put into danger. And the art in this is just spectacular. And whoever does the color does a really great job of changing the tone and the mood of the comic book using the colors themselves, which is basically something that you should be doing if you're a color artist, but I don't see a whole lot of people doing that these days. There's a lot of abstract things going into this story. Not everything is just happening like in the real world. Some things are happening in people's minds. Some things are more abstract ideas, and he's able to put it onto the page and really tell that story, which is absolutely key to interpreting what Phillip Kennedy Johnson is doing with this story here. So the art is absolutely top-notch, especially when Nick Klein is on the art. We have had a backup artist on the last 2 issues. Issues 4 and 5 is Travel Foreman. Me personally, on issue number 4, he basically looked like Martin Mazzaro from Ice Cream Man. Another absolutely fantastic horror comic book, but that one's more anthology stuff. And it looked okay. It was okay. But in issue number 5, Travel Foreman absolutely upped his game. He's not at Nick Klein's level, in my opinion, just as a visual storyteller and somebody really interpreting the monsters in the script onto the page and making everything look terrifying. But he does a much better job in issue number 5. But there is one page specifically that Travel Foreman did that I thought was great. I certainly can remember many times Bruce Banner becoming Hulk and thinking that looks really terrifying, that's crazy, it looks painful. But I've never really had that moment where Hulk became Bruce Banner that really stood out. A lot of times in the past, Hulk would be causing damage and maybe he would run away. And then the next page, he would have passed out and woke up as Bruce Banner with his clothes in tatters or whatever. That's a transition that's been used in Hulk a lot. I don't remember seeing this a lot, and I certainly don't remember it like really standing out to me. But when Hulk becomes Bruce Banner in issue number 5, illustrated by Travel Foreman, it is one of the most amazing pages I've seen. Like, I hadn't really thought about just how terribly painful the transformation from Hulk to Banner would be, and you can see his like eyes are bugging out, and it's just so gross. It's so nasty, and a Hulk comic book should kind of be that, especially if you're playing into the horror aspects of the character. And I thought this one page really stood out and definitely improved my opinion of Travel Foreman as the backup artist to Nick Klein. But the art absolutely stands up to the story, and in some ways will exceed it from time to time. It's been really, really good. So this is a strong book all around. This isn't one of those come for the story and mind the art, or come for the art and don't bother with the story. You get the whole package in this one, even with the backup artists in there. There's some really cool stuff going on. There's 3 main characters in this book. Obviously, there's Bruce Banner, there's Hulk, and then there's another character. When I'm talking about Bruce Banner in this book, he has lost control of Hulk, and Hulk is trying to come out of him, and he's once again a weary traveler on the road, mostly in the Deep South so far is what we've kind of seen. And when you look at him, he's absolutely disheveled. He absolutely looks terrified, and he doesn't know when the Hulk is coming back, but he does not want it to happen. He doesn't want to be responsible for anybody else getting hurt. And it's just a very grim impression of what Bruce Banner's life is like on the road right now, not just in the manner that he's living, but just looking at him. He doesn't look like the same old Bruce Banner. And I do appreciate Nick Klein and Phillip Kennedy Johnson really putting their stamp on this version of Bruce Banner in this story, and it absolutely fits it. And if you were at a diner, like in Louisiana or something, and this guy walked in, you would probably just pay and walk out because you wouldn't want to be near him, because he does look like there's something wrong with him. There are some crazy eyes there, and I think what they've done with Bruce is absolutely fantastic. It fits the character. We've certainly seen Bruce Banner go across the country trying to be anonymous from town to town, trying not to get stressed out and destroy stuff. And this kind of falls into that. What with a few twists onto it? The big twist is his new sidekick. In fact, Bruce Banner has been trying to get rid of this girl, Charlie, since she showed up. She has had a very, very bad home life. In fact, the picture that I'm showing you right now is her beating on her father after he's been incapacitated. And later in the story, it's revealed that she has a heavily scarred face, and she has serious anger issues that rival Bruce Banner. Now, she doesn't turn into Hulk, but she does go into fits of rage because her home life has been very, very bad. She's lost her mother. I believe she's recently lost her grandmother. And at some point, she actually lost her little brother. And that kind of plays into a very emotional storyline. And I will give Phillip Kennedy Johnson due credit for incorporating that into issues number 4 and 5. I thought it was really well done. You absolutely feel bad for Charlie, and you can understand why she's so angry. Apparently, her father likes to hit her. Her father is not a very nice person to her, and she holds a lot of resentment. Now, she does not want to travel specifically with Bruce Banner. She's actually not interested in him. She's interested in the Hulk. She wants to travel with the Hulk. She wants to become something like the Hulk. She wants to be somebody whose anger actually turns into a strength for them. She actually even says at one point, "I feel stronger when I'm around you." Not talking about Bruce Banner, talking about the Hulk. She wants to be the Hulk sidekick, and she wants to learn from him because she feels safe around him. She can understand where the Hulk is coming from, all that visceral, pent-up anger actually being funneled out. And it turns out her and the Hulk have a little bit of a friendship, at least beginning in the early stages of this comic book series. And I thought that was interesting, that Hulk would even take a personal interest in Charlie, but you can definitely see how the two could be drawn to each other. Hulk is tired of being caged. Hulk wants to get out, and he actually wants to end Banner for good. That is the Hulk's ultimate goal. And while that's not the most original interpretation of the character, they are certainly at odds with each other. Bruce wants to suppress the Hulk wants to get out, and he wants to end Bruce forever and become the sole entity of the body that they're both inhabiting at this point. I've always been attracted to characters that are kind of loners. They're badasses, but they don't really want to be bothered. They don't want to be held down by other people. The best example I can come up with is like the Outlaw Josie Wales, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's probably my second favorite Western. Right after The Searchers, it actually stars Clint Eastwood, if you've never seen that one. And he's a guy with a past. He lost his wife. He lost his children during the Civil War. And he's on a mission for vengeance. And along the way, he ends up helping a couple of people out. And he can't get rid of the strays. They're always with him because they feel safe around him. And that is the vibe that I get here. Obviously, it's not a whole group of people tagging along with Hulk in this case. It's only this girl, Charlie. But I've always been attracted to those kind of loner characters that can't get rid of the tag-alongs and always end up doing the right thing and protecting them or whatever, because they realize there's a reason that they're sticking around. It's not because I'm nice. It's not because I'm pleasant. It's because I'm able to do things and protect them, and that's what they're really looking for ultimately. And I think the relationship between these two has a lot of potential to do something very, very cool. I will caveat this. If Phillip Kennedy Johnson tries to turn Charlie into the new Hulk or gives her Hulk powers, I'm out. Well, I don't need to see that. I like to see her admiring Hulk and wishing she could do it, but Hulk being something unique and not like passing down the powers or trying to transfer them to her. I think that would be a gross miscalculation by Phillip Kennedy Johnson and would kind of ruin some of the things he's built up. But I do not believe he's dumb enough to actually do that. Although Charlie herself would absolutely love to see that happen. Now, we talked about the characters, we talked about the art. The last thing I'll kind of get into are not real in-depth plot elements, but some of the things going on here and what you can expect from The Incredible Hulk by Phillip Kennedy Johnson and Nick Klein. For the most part, when you get into the book and we're starting to explore some new things, it is very much a like monster of the week type of ongoing series. And this is something that has certainly served a character like Hulk very, very well in the past. Although I do believe modern readers expect something a little bit bigger and more involved than just monster of the week type stories. I think you can use that as a format or a blueprint overall and do monster of the week type of things, but you need something a little bit bigger to kind of connect it all, which he has certainly already introduced and he's expanding upon each and every issue. So this is certainly more involved than monster of the week, but the monster of the week trope is absolutely present in here. And the reason that is happening is because somebody has actually called up all the monsters to go out and find Hulk and capture him. They call him, I believe it's the Broken Son, or maybe it's the Forgotten Son. I think it's the Broken Son, but they are after Hulk. So every single town he goes to, next thing you know, the police officer is actually a demon and he keeps running into zombies and all these things keep attacking him. And this here, I believe, the monster I'm looking at right here and you're looking at, I believe it was called Brother Deep, and I believe his sister might be called the Eldest. I might have gotten that one a little bit confused, but when you get Hulk on screen fighting other enormous monsters, it's absolutely lots of fun. And that's one of the reasons the Monster of the Week format absolutely works for Hulk. And you will get loads of absolutely insane looking monsters and different entities and things. And we even get like a little team up a little bit with Man-Thing within the last few issues that kind of brings us into the more broader elements of the story that we're talking about. There's a reason all these monsters have been brought forth, because the Eldest is out there and she's trying to gain his powers or take the Hulk away from Bruce Banner to bring back, I think her name is the Mother of Horrors, something that's behind the green door or something like that. That's kind of all playing into it. And she's got her team of demons or monsters that are actually out there working for her directly as they kind of try to chase down the Hulk. But we've also got all these other monsters that don't work for her directly, but are kind of doing her bidding, trying to corner him or bring him down to where she can get there and they can get a hold of the Hulk. In fact, there was a really interesting moment in the last issue that we had to where Bruce Banner was actually given a choice to where he wouldn't have to free himself of the Hulk anymore and that burden. We've certainly seen that story a lot where Bruce Banner or somebody else would like to help him cure himself from having the Hulk. And we've seen them as separate entities or whatever. But this is coming at it from a different direction where he's not going to cure himself. He's been offered the opportunity to willingly give up the Hulk that's inside of him, and they'll put it in like another vessel, which I assume means another human being. In this case, it'll probably be because of the story Charlie or whatever. I imagine that's actually what's going to happen, but hopefully she doesn't take over as the Hulk. It's only a story element, but they're going to take the Hulk out of him and do it willingly. And Bruce has the decision to make. Does he want to continue living with this burden inside of him that he has had to live with for all these years and struggle with and know how much damage he's been a part of, not willingly, as the Hulk has caused mayhem, across the nation. And really across the globe. And if you think about it, across the galaxy, when you start thinking about Planet Hulk and stuff like that. So there's some really, really cool elements that are going much bigger than Monster of the Week. It's all kind of building up to something. Is Bruce Banner finally going to own that Hulk persona and realize it's his responsibility to do the right thing with the Hulk and make sure that the Hulk isn't so mad that he wants to end him forever? Is he ever going to get to that place where the two can live, I don't know, symbiotically, kind of like Venom and Eddie Brock or whatever, kind of like that situation where Venom and Flash Thompson situation? Will he finally accept the burden and realize that it's important for Bruce Banner to be the vessel of the Hulk because the two kind of need each other? And certainly this little girl needs the two of them as well. Although she is certainly more attracted to the Hulk, and who can blame her? The Hulk is absolutely awesome. And I think this is just a fantastic start. It feels like it's going places. I've been a big fan of Phillip Kennedy Johnson for quite a while. I think what he did in Action Comics with Warworld Saga was absolutely fantastic. And that was a very long-form story told there. I also really like what he did with The Last God, which is kind of, I don't know, Lord of the Rings-inspired fantasy comic book that was put on DC Black Label. I don't think it's called The Last God anymore. I think it might just be called The Fellspire Chronicles, which was like the subtitle or whatever. I think they might have gotten into some trouble or something, but it might just be called The Fellspire Chronicles. I believe there might be a hardcover edition of that coming out soon. I thought that was really, really good with Ricardo Federici on art. And he's done a lot of good things. And I think Phillip Kennedy Johnson is one of those people that in 5 or 6 years has a chance, I don't know if to be an A-lister, but to be a guy that's worked on top-tier characters, that's done a lot of top-tier work that people know that they can trust. I personally feel like I can trust Phillip Kennedy Johnson at this point when he's writing stories. The only thing recently that I haven't really liked almost at all, I guess, was his Alien run, which I find surprising because I love Alien. But his run, and I think a lot of it had to do with the Salvador Larroca art, was just not for me whatsoever. I actually stopped reading it. But this Hulk stuff is absolutely amazing. If you haven't been reading the Hulk, I hope that you enjoy this and I was able to open your eyes a little bit and say, hey, it's time to jump back on the Hulk bandwagon. If Starship Hulk kind of threw you off, or the end of Al Ewing's run on Immortal Hulk threw you off, and it certainly threw me off, this is kind of what you've been looking for. This is the best version of Hulk. Really, when Hulk is that anti-hero, that truly tragic figure stuck in like a horror-based comic book, I think is when Hulk is at his finest. And this is certainly that. And I'm really enjoying that one. And a tip of the cap to Phillip Kennedy Johnson, as well as the artist Nick Klein, doing fantastic stuff. I did just mention The Last God. I believe it's now called The Fellspire Chronicles. I really like that story. In fact, I think it was 4 years ago, I actually reviewed the very first issue. Now, I do want to say, it was 4 years ago. It wasn't the channel then that it is today, but I think it's still a very good review, and it gives you an idea of who Phillip Kennedy Johnson is if you haven't seen his stuff, and also give you an opportunity to perhaps check out this series, which I think is also very, very good. There's also a link in the video description.